Lisa clutched her worn-out backpack strap, the familiar scent of car exhaust and fried food a bitter perfume on the chilly air. Her sneakers made a rhythmic clicking sound against the cracked sidewalk, a metronome for her anxieties. At 22, Lisa was a medical student, a waitress, and the sole provider for her family. The dream of becoming a doctor, once a beacon of hope, was now a distant star, obscured by a mountain of bills and responsibilities. Her mother's diabetes, her younger brother Jamal's troubles at school, and her sister Nia's fading innocence, it all felt like a weight pressing down on her, suffocating her. Home offered little reprieve. Their small apartment, filled with love and problems, was teetering on the edge. The landlord's voice, a constant echo of his demands for rent, was a sound Lisa had come to dread. As she rode the bus, her reflection in the window seemed to merge with the city's dilapidation. She thought about her tips at the diner, the towering stack of bills, and the lectures she was barely keeping up with. It was all too much. That evening, her mother's pale face and trembling hands confirmed her worst fears. "The landlord has given us 2 weeks," she said, her voice strained. The lump in Lisa's throat felt like a stone. She promised to figure something out, a promise she'd made countless times before. But this time, it felt different. This time, the problem felt insurmountable. Their conversation was interrupted by a knock on the door. It was her uncle, Marvin, a burly truck driver with a gruff demeanor and an air of unease. He came with a proposition, a word that sent a shiver down Lisa's spine. A wealthy man, William Harris, a client he used to work for, was looking for a wife. "He's rich," Marvin said, "real rich. And he'll take care of your mama, the kids, everything." The man was 65, ailing, and simply wanted a legal arrangement. When he passed, Lisa would inherit everything. The idea was absurd, insulting even. But as Marvin laid out the details, the money, the security, the promise of a future for her family, it became harder to ignore. It wasn't the life she wanted, but it might be the only way to save the people she loved. By the end of the night, Lisa had made her decision. She would meet this man. The unconventional proposal Lisa stood outside the wrought iron gates of the Harris estate, feeling small and insignificant. The sprawling mansion with its manicured lawns and marble fountains was a world away from her reality. Her uncle, Marvin, drove away, leaving her alone with her doubts. A butler, Mr. Collins, met her at the door, his impeccable suit and polite bow a stark contrast to Lisa's worn-out coat. The interior of the mansion was just as grand, filled with crystal chandeliers and expensive art, but it was also eerily silent, as if life had been drained from it. In the study, behind a large mahogany desk, sat William Harris. He was not the monstrous figure Lisa had imagined. He was tall and lean, his hair a mix of silver and white, and his piercing blue eyes were sharp and observant. "You must be nervous," he said, his voice deep and measured. "The situation is unconventional." He was clear and businesslike, explaining that he was looking for a legal spouse, not a romantic partner. In return, he would ensure her family was taken care of. "Why me?" Lisa asked, her voice steadier than she expected. William tilted his head, considering the question. "Your uncle spoke highly of your character," he said. "You're intelligent, hardworking, and selfless. I was drawn to the idea of helping someone who genuinely needs it." His words were devoid of emotion, yet there was an undertone of weariness and something else, perhaps regret. He slid a folder across the desk. "This contains the details of the arrangement. If you decide to proceed, contact my assistant." As she left, his parting words echoed in her mind. "Whatever you decide, I hope it brings you peace." The folder felt heavy in her hands, a physical reminder of the crossroads she now stood at. She walked away from the mansion, her heart and mind locked in a battle. Could she really marry a man she barely knew, and at what cost? A quiet life the day Lisa moved into the mansion. The sky was as grey as her mood. The black SUV that brought her from her old neighborhood pulled away, leaving her with a suitcase and a house that felt too large, too quiet, and too distant. Mr. Collins showed her to her room, a beautiful space that felt more like a temporary intrusion than a home. The next few days settled into a routine. Lisa would explore the mansion, its rooms filled with history and untouched heirlooms, and spend time in the garden, finding solace in its order. William remained a distant presence, appearing only during meals. He was always polite, formal, but never familiar. One evening, Lisa stumbled upon a small music room with a grand piano. She sat down and played a simple melody, its soft notes filling the empty space. "You play," William's voice startled her. He entered the room and gestured for her to continue. "You have talent," he said, his voice warmer than she had ever heard it. From that moment, something shifted between them. He remained reserved, but small cracks began to appear in his armor. He was a man with a quiet dignity, a weariness that was impossible to ignore. Lisa began to see beyond the composed exterior, a man carrying a secret too heavy to share. The revelation one rainy morning in the library, a room that had quickly become Lisa's favorite, William joined her. "This house has history," he said, his expression thoughtful. "But most of it is not as glamorous as it may seem." He spoke of chasing success at the expense of his marriage, of the life he had lost. Then, his tone grew more serious. "Lisa," he said, "I need to tell you something." Her heart pounded in her chest. "I have a terminal illness," he confessed, his voice steady but tinged with resignation. "The doctors have given me months, maybe less." Lisa's chest tightened. She had suspected he was ill, but hearing it confirmed was a shock. "I wanted to leave something behind that mattered," he said, his gaze piercing yet kind. "Helping you and your family, it feels like the first truly meaningful thing I've done in years." Lisa was overwhelmed. The man she had once seen as cold and distant was revealing himself to be so much more complex, so much more human. The silence between them was no longer awkward, but filled with a quiet understanding. For the first time, Lisa felt a connection to this house, to this man, and to the life they were quietly building. A final gift over the next week, a profound shift occurred. William became more open, sharing stories of his life, his regrets, his hopes, and the lessons he had learned. He spoke of his first love, a pianist named Eleanor, and how he had let her slip away. "Love is the only thing worth holding on to," he told Lisa. His words stayed with her, planting a seed of purpose in a life that had long been defined by obligation. On the 6th day, William gave Lisa a worn wooden chest filled with letters, photographs, and personal mementos. "They're a record of everything I've lived and learned," he said. "Maybe they'll mean something to you too." On the 7th, he made one final request. "When I'm gone, don't let this place become a burden. Let it be a stepping stone. Promise me you'll use it to help others." Lisa's throat tightened as she nodded. "I promise." The next morning, Lisa found him peacefully in his bed, a faint smile on his face. On the bedside table was a letter addressed to her. Her hands trembled as she read his final words, a farewell and a road map for her future. "Live boldly, Lisa," he had written. "Love fiercely, and never forget that your worth lies not in what you do for others, but in who you are. Use what I've given you to create the life you deserve." Lisa's tears fell freely as she absorbed his words. She felt a quiet but powerful resolve to honor his final wish. The mansion, a symbol of isolation, would become a foundation for something new, something meaningful. The legacy a year had passed since William's death, and the mansion was unrecognizable. It had become a vibrant community center, a living, breathing testament to William's legacy and Lisa's vision. The silent halls were now filled with the laughter of children and the hum of activity. Lisa's family was at the heart of it all, her mother volunteering, her brother mentoring, and her sister's art adorning the walls. Lisa herself had grown, her quiet strength transforming into a confident resolve. Tonight was the first annual Legacy Gala, a celebration of the lives that had been changed. As Lisa addressed the crowd, her voice was steady and full of gratitude. William Harris was many things, she said, her gaze settling on his photograph. And above all, a teacher. He taught me that life isn't about what we accumulate, but about the impact we have on others. Later that night, as the last guest left, Lisa found herself in the music room. She sat at the piano, her fingers finding the familiar melody William had taught her. The music filled the room, a reminder of the man who had changed her life. As the final note faded, Lisa looked out the window, a new day dawning on the horizon. "Thank you," she whispered, her heart full. "For everything." For the first time in her life, Lisa felt truly at peace, ready to embrace a future that was not defined by survival, but by purpose.